evening, assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to Visionary Pulse with me, your host Farzana Mayet, a segment that focuses on chatting to game changers and change makers. And tonight is certainly no different as we chat to one such visionary game changer and change maker. We say a very good evening and a warm welcome to Mujib Petker, who is admitted to the High Court and brings considerable experience across a wide range of practice areas, from complex commercial disputes to family law and evictions. As a boutique firm, they offer something the large firms cannot: direct access to senior legal expertise, personalized attention on every matter, and a genuine commitment to your outcome. Commercial litigation, disputes, civil litigation, divorce and family law, contracts, evictions, business rescue, consumer law, debtor and creditor, debt recovery, and arbitration as well. So we say a very good evening. Assalamu alaikum and a warm welcome, Mujib. How are you?
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Farzana, for this wonderful opportunity, and good evening to your audience and viewers.
It's just a pleasure and a privilege to have you on Visionary Pulse. So Mujib, you've built a reputation as a trusted litigation attorney. What first inspired you to pursue law, and was there a defining moment when you realized this was your calling?
So to be quite honest, and if I go back into the early 90s, I was terrible at accounts.
Okay.
That directed me immediately into law. I failed Accounts 101.
Okay.
I didn't like it at all. I thought I would become an accountant. I had visions of being a good CA in mind. But I think in my second year, there wasn't a lightning bolt moment that defined it. But I soon realized that law was for me. I started participating in more student forums, legal counsel forums, and I thoroughly enjoyed that experience.
So that was your calling.
That was my calling.
Kind of found out that was your calling.
Correct. I never looked back since then, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay, so litigation is often described as a battlefield, Mujib. How do you balance being a fierce advocate for your client while ensuring justice remains at the center of every case? I think, you would be then every client's dream.
So the first thing to do for a client is not to distinguish big clients from small clients.
But that often not happens, right?
Correct. But basically, I have a philosophy and a policy at my firm that we throw out the red carpet and the Rolls-Royce treatment for every single client that walks in, irrespective of background, means, whether they're a corporate client or an individual client. And I think that's very important. Litigation is like a Game of Thrones. Okay, you sit there, you strategize, you analyze a matter, you look at your weaknesses, you look at your strengths. You decide when to play your weak card. You decide when to play your strong card.
Okay.
You look for gaps on settlement. And if there's an opportunity to settle with your client's instructions and feedback and a discussion around that, you look to broker a good settlement and a good deal for your client.
So your clients come first, always and every day.
Absolutely.
That is so refreshing to hear, because often you would find that, certain attorneys, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying certain would then do what they would deem best, not what's best for the client. And I love hearing you say that.
Yeah, so it's clients, your client is your life. I often get criticized at home for that, because your wife is meant to be your life, but your client is your life. Your clients are your life. They make your practice, they make you, they make your reputation. And it's often the case that I have a client who I actually learn from, because it takes, sometimes you get experience with tough clients, and who make tough decisions. And it's difficult to alter the focus and adjust that focus on a matter where a client comes in one-minded, this is the way I want to go, but they haven't looked at an alternative. And to get that alternative across to them is a challenge of the attorney.
Okay, so you have to now obviously mediate, litigate, and do things to suit the client.
Correct. As I said, it's an urgent court litigation is another area altogether. You drop your desk. Okay, it's almost like you getting a call right now to drop your desk, and you've got to go and interview a whole lot of other clients on a whole lot of other topics.
Okay.
So urgent court is a roller coaster ride. And in a short space of time, you're seeking results and successes for your client. So urgent court litigation, I thrive on it. You've got to have a knack for it. You've got to have a want for it. You've got to be able to act quickly and decisively under pressure.
And a knack for stress then, obviously. I would have to say that, because that goes hand in hand,
comes with the game.
Okay. So Mujib, what personal values have guided your career, especially when you've had to make difficult ethical decisions? I think that's...
Yeah, that's deep in value. Thanks for that question. I would say honesty and accountability
Yes.
at the forefront. At the end of the day, you have to choose right from wrong. You have to make difficult decisions. Thankfully, I don't take on many criminal matters. I think my criminal attorney colleagues face difficult decisions acting for wrongdoers or perpetrators of crime and defending them.
Exactly, when they're knowing already from the onset that they're wrong.
Correct.
Right.
So I'm very choosy in the work that I do, and that's why my practice is geared and more focused on civil and commercial litigation, together with a touch of family law and the other areas of expertise that you alluded to earlier.
Okay. So many people only meet an attorney during one of the most stressful periods in their lives, right? Beyond legal advice, what do you believe people truly need from their lawyer? Especially as we're in Women's Month, and it's so imperative, many women would then come to you totally stressed out. What would your advice be?
All right, the first thing that I think a client needs and that an attorney should heed is to be a good listener to the storyline. When a client walks in, they might have had a bad day or a bad experience with their husband or going through a torrid time, especially women with husband issues or family law matters. And the first thing you need to do is actually listen to the storyline. Take them back to where it all started and go through the facts of the case detail by detail before jumping in to advise and strategize and work a journey going forwards. So I think a client needs a confidant, somebody they can implicitly trust in that attorney, and somebody that they believe will exercise their rights mostly to the full extent of the law.
And I think at a specific juncture as well, Mujib, I think you would agree with me that they would need some kind of consoling as well.
Absolutely.
From
There
that
is
attorney,
a
not
huge...
a cold-hearted attorney
Yes.
that's going to just, base the case on factual information and that's it.
There is a huge emotional aspect to family law matters in particular. Also, matters where a client might be facing an eviction becomes quite emotional.
Okay.
You've got to help them out and understand what the law is, how far you can take it, what your defenses are, if any, etc. So it depends on which side also the client is. Are they suing to evict, or are they facing
the
an
victims,
eviction as
yeah.
an example? Yeah.
Okay. So you've represented clients facing divorce as well, financial collapse, eviction like we've spoken about, and commercial disputes. Is there one lesson you've learned about human nature that no law textbook could ever teach? I think with your expertise, you may have experienced a lot.
So, from my experience, people don't really lie about the facts. They lie about their feelings. They're embarrassed to actually go deep with you on the matter. So in a first consultation, you find that they're still trying to find trust with you.
Okay.
They walk into your office, they don't know you from anybody, they've been referred by whoever. And it's up to me as the attorney to make them feel comfortable, to make them, or to remind them that this is a confidential space. Anything that you say is protected by attorney-client privilege, as we
yes.
know out there. So pour your heart out and let's get through it so that it becomes so much easier, and it's basically letting off your chest on all the issues. So that's what I find that a textbook can't teach you to do. It's a human factor. It's an emotional factor. It's making that client even tear in the office, okay? Allowing them that space. Here's a tissue for you. Feel free. I expect that from you, because then we're having a meaningful, engagement, and you're not just giving me the tip of the iceberg.
You're bearing it all.
Correct.
And in doing so, obviously, the case becomes much more easier for you,
Absolutely,
I would think.
absolutely.
Okay, so Mujib, do you believe access to justice in South Africa is equal for everyone, or does wealth still determine who gets the best legal outcomes? This is a touchy one.
Yeah,
but I think, for the benefit of our viewers, it's important to ask these questions.
Absolutely. So the answer is no. I think we should be honest about that. Legal cost is a barrier to complete access to justice. There is a perception out there that the wealthy get justice first, and those who are impoverished or don't have the means don't get justice. But if I can say that landscape is changing with time and as we move forwards, and we'll discuss this maybe in a later sector, where we find lots of women's support movements, pro bono foundations, pro bono councils, the Legal Practice Council. There's law clinics at just about every university in the country, the big universities. So access to justice is available, But I believe a program like this and a platform like this, in educating and giving the audience access to information, to access justice.
Which they may have not been had before,
correct,
right?
is just profound. It's simply profound.
Okay, so Mujib, if you, how has technology and AI changed the way you practice law, break into family law and things like that? What's your perception on it?
Okay, I'll share a lighter moment to answer that question. I have a client who actually he used to send me a proper instruction to tell me what the storyline is, allow me to assess the facts, advise, etc. He now sends me an AI reply to a letter that he's received. And he sends me an application, a court-drafted AI application.
Okay.
And he says, can we discuss this? So AI has helped, and it's fascinating. But at the same time, you do need the human factor. You need the attorney behind it to ensure that proper papers are filed in accordance with the rules of court. Otherwise, you will get to court and your papers will likely face them being thrown out, or technical defects are found, etc. So AI is great. People misuse it every day, and I'm sure they do.
But not misuse it, right?
But not misuse it, within means and
Yes.
parameters at this stage.
Okay.
I don't think AI can replace any professional
Absolutely
in the
not.
game
No,
as
no.
yet.
So Mujib, we're heading to a sensitive topic here. Divorce is one of the most emotionally charged areas of law, right? What advice would you give couples before they reach to the point of litigation?
All right, so this is the core of, I think, of our discussion today. The first thing I'd like to advise your viewers and audience, and especially those women whose rights are potentially infringed and they are impoverished, they don't have access to courts, access to law, or don't know how to access it.
Exactly, and for the benefit of the viewers, Mujib, sorry to cut you there, who are now considering, getting a divorce and moving forward, but they don't know what steps to take. How do they move forward?
Okay. I think they should do what you're doing this morning. Talk to a lawyer. Don't talk to a courtroom.
Right.
Okay. But first try proper counseling to reconcile. I'm very, very strong on counseling. So I actually have chased away clients who have teared in my office, gone through the whole storyline, and I asked them, I said, but is it possible to save the marriage because what you've described is actually reconcilable? And they say, yes, it is. Okay. Yes, that's the expression I get. And I say to them, look, we are duty-bound as attorneys to ensure that the marriage is not reconcilable. And Farzana, this is a slot that you might want to explore in the future with counselors. There's lots of Muslim counselors out there who offer inexpensive or pro bono advice to Muslim couples. I don't think they're getting the right counseling. And it's so important to get counseling to see if we can reconcile. Just from an Islamic point of view, it's paramount to try and reconcile and save the marriage first.
Try every avenue first, right?
Before
they reach your office.
Both parties have made a decision. And if I may throw a name out there, there's a lady that I work with. Her name is Tasneem Dango, and she is a counselor who's available. You can look her up and reach out to her. She'll help you and guide you. And if it then becomes necessary, where you approach the attorney and you say, look, I've tried good counseling, it hasn't worked, we can take the discussion forward.
Okay, perfect. And Tasneem Dango is obviously reachable on social media as well, on Instagram.
Absolutely.
So should anybody want to reach her, it's very easy. Okay, so Mujib, what happens if a couple signs an anti-nuptial contract but doesn't register it in time or wants to register one after the marriage? I would think, again, for the benefit of our viewers, we are not well versed with these things because, so to speak, divorce doesn't happen to us. It's never going to happen,
Yeah.
So we're in love, we're getting married, and that's all we care about. But these things are very of paradigm importance to talk about from the onset.
Yes. So what's amazing and quite funny, in fact, is when couples are about to marry, they sit next to each other at my office, holding their hands, sharing a pen to sign a contract, an ANC contract. They don't even really give it much attention. Okay, they say, yeah, sure, when's the wedding? Have you got your outfits ready? It's more about the wedding planning.
Right.
And this is just one of the boxes to tick.
Right.
But it's such a huge, important box, Farzana, that they need to take the time to understand what the worst case scenario events are.
So Mujib, let's digress a bit, right? A couple meet, they fall in love, and now obviously they're going to get married soon. The hard talks need to happen. Would you agree? before
Absolutely.
the wedding, before the engagement, like, look, listen, this is what I want to do. And if you love me enough, you're going to be happy to sign this.
Absolutely. And remember, at the end of the day, it's an agreement, it's a discussion between them. So they often arrive at a lawyer's office to register an antenuptial contract already knowing what they want to agree to and what their marriage going forwards would be about and what would happen at the end on death or divorce, the D line we call it. So it's so important for clients to understand what the process is and what their options are in law, because registering an antenuptial contract, you can either get married out of community without an accrual or out of community with an accrual. And it's so important for a full and thorough explanation and consultation to take place with somebody who's about to be married so that they can go back and think around it and come back and say, we've made this decision based on the advice we've given.
So Mujib, again, let's digress a bit more and go a bit deeper into this. Say, you know what, the couple's in love, they want to get married, but one person says, look, I need to have this signed. The other partner doesn't want it to happen. What then?
All right, that's problematic because
So I think that's a red
ultimately,
flag, right?
yes, correct. That's a huge red flag. Postpone the wedding for a bit. No, but you've got to get this right. It's a huge contract. You can't delay it because, coming back to the actual direct question you asked, if you sign that contract, and I have a case at the moment in the High Court where a Muslim couple signed the contract and delayed registering this contract. It's got to be registered in the deeds office before the actual marriage is registered.
Oh, that's so important for our viewers to understand.
Correct, it
that,
has
right?
to be. So I've got a situation, they sign, they get married, and for whatever reason, it gets registered after. 20 years later, there's a divorce on the table.
Oh, no.
So we go back and they come into my office. Well, one of the parties comes in. I'm acting for the wife.
Right.
The husband's not too happy about this point we're taking at court. But we saying to the court, hang on a second, this wasn't registered in time. It has to be registered before you get married. That's the bottom line. It's black and white. Thankfully, there's no grey area on that point. And therefore, you are married in community or property. So therefore, it's one pot. So hubby, sorry for you, all those assets, my client has a half share too.
Wow.
Correct.
And that's something
that's
that
a game
our
changer.
Viewers, yes, they take so for granted. And it's very important for us to, like you pointed out, have these discussions on air to enlighten our viewers, to educate them, to say, listen, there is an avenue for you to explore. And please have these difficult conversations before the big day. Before the big day.
That's golden advice that you've just given all your viewers. Well done.
Okay, so Mujib, the Divorce Amendment Act came into effect in 2024. How has it changed the landscape for Muslim marriages, and what's changed on the ground and in the courts since? I think this is so important for us to point out because many of our Muslim viewers at home may not know which way to turn.
Correct. So this is huge, okay? It's, as you use your term, it's a huge game changer for Muslim marriages, for nikahs in South Africa. It's probably one of the most significant shifts in family law for decades as a whole, never mind Muslim marriages. Before 2024, a Muslim marriage or nikah had no automatic standing in our courts, nothing. It wasn't regarded, it was totally disregarded.
Okay.
The amendments that came about on the 15th of May 2024 in terms of the Divorce Act now recognize Muslim marriages. They recognize a Muslim spouse or spouses, and they recognize fully Muslim children and the duty of support in terms of those marriages. It's a huge game changer. So just to put it out there, Home Affairs have commenced with registering Muslim marriages at the Department of Home Affairs now in the last couple of years. A Muslim marriage is now recognized under the Divorce Act, if I can just read this out, so that either spouse can approach a court for a decree of divorce, asset redistribution, and child welfare orders. I'm seeing more couples and community members who are now actually aware that this protection exists. The next challenge is simply what you're doing. It's awareness. How many Muslims who are married by a nikah are actually aware of these amendments and actually aware of these rights? It's fresh, newly born law. So 2 years old is like yesterday in our law because they still get processed through the courts,
so it's still in
etc.
its early stages, very
early stages, 100%.
So Mujib, let's summarize this for the benefit of our viewers, right? There's a Muslim marriage. They have a nikah certificate. What do they need to do then? The couple wants to get divorced, for example. Now the new amendment came in.
So
Hooray.
yep.
So what happens then?
So before we get to the new amendment, one is counseling. Please take this message, counseling.
Please.
Try and reconcile. Okay, if you can't reconcile, go and see a lawyer. Well, try and agree to things. We don't know what's in the assets pot. You know,
Right.
and this is a message more to the husbands out there. We've seen on TV at the moment, for the good reasons or wrong reasons, WhatsApp messages being read out.
Oh.
Okay,
So it's personal.
Correct.
Between the husband and the wife. It goes public.
correct. But we've seen in the Madlanga Commission, I'm
Oh,
referencing
yeah. Oh,
to.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
So don't hide your assets, because the courts have sharpened up on this, okay? We can get to see what happened, and all of these things can be reversed. It's called alter ego. So for example, a husband might put all his businesses and his shares into trusts, etc., and he in his personal capacity says, I'm
nothing.
broke.
Yes, I've got nothing.
That's not going to work anymore. Okay. We've seen this now.
So the courts are gone very smart. So a message to all the husbands out there. But Mujib, a message to the wives. Look, many of the wives are going through such traumatic marriages. You hear of this every day. What message do you have for those wives who are now going through a traumatic situation? They just want out. Some of them are not even wanting to take anything with them. And now there is a backing that says, look, we're here to help you because our marriages are recognized. Here, you are going to get something.
Correct, and especially housewives who have contributed as a caregiver, being at home,
Yes.
running the kids, running the household.
So that is a standing right?
Correct, that's a standing
Wow.
right. That
Okay.
gives them an opportunity to come to a court to say, I must be recognized. He might not recognize me because he thinks I did nothing, but I saved him costs, I saved him time, I allowed him to build up the business.
Exactly.
He couldn't build up that business or that empire without me doing the running arounds in the household, the executive housewife position, so to speak.
Right.
So the court now recognizes those executives and says, come to me, I'll help you. You have rights in terms of the act. And so get to your lawyer before you get to a courtroom, exercise your rights, understand your rights. I'm not saying that you must go for every rand and cent. That's not nice. It impacts on the children if you have a protracted divorce.
Exactly.
Always try and sit down, have a discussion
Amicably,
on what's
right?
fair. Absolutely.
Yes.
Amicably, try and get this onto the unopposed role where you have a settlement agreement that looks after you to an extent, and let's get the divorce through as less painfully and protracted as possible.
Okay, so Mujib, before you leave us, what message would you like to leave our viewers with today? I think it's so imperatively important.
Okay,
You know,
so
especially since it's Women's Month and
absolutely. So access to your rights, access to courts, access to justice is so important. Look at the universities. There's a Women's Movement International Foundation. I'll mention her name, Tasneem Dangor and Asima Kazi are the co-founders of this. Reach out to them. They're here to help you. Don't wait for a crisis to arise to understand your rights. And always ensure that you are treated with dignity. If you are not treated with dignity by your spouse, that's more the reason to knock on these doors for help and assistance.
And obviously the guidance, like you said, you're big on counseling, you're preaching counseling, and I think that's the way forward first.
Correct.
Start with that first, and these are movements that you've just mentioned, powerful movements with amazing and powerful women that are there to assist.
Absolutely. I hope this message has resonated with your viewers, with your audience, and it's been an interesting and great, valuable discussion. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Farzana, and the work that you do, INX Prime Media. Thank you very much for this, if I can say, pulsating discussion on Visionary Pulse. My firm's contact details,
Yes,
if I may share. My email address is law@petker, petker.co.za, and we also have an open WhatsApp line, 072 150 0469.
Okay, Mujib, so before you leave us, right, give us one motivational quote that you aspire to.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Right. Thank you so much, Mujib. It was an honor and a privilege to have you on Visionary Pulse. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So that brings us to the end of another wonderful segment of Visionary Pulse with me, your host, Farzana Mayet. Join me next week as I chat to another visionary, game changer, and change maker. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good evening to you.